did you go shopping again?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Well,
I won't do it again.
well, as punishment, I'm going to return everything. Except for this Rachel handbag by Sincerely Jen Patterns. And these apartment pants.
Oh.
I like how you laugh. Hey everyone, it's Ria. Thanks for coming back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be making the new pattern from Sincerely Jen Patterns, the Rachel. The Rachel Tote is what I'm going to be making, though there's also a handbag version. They are both ridiculously cute. I have actually also now made, it's not for the pattern, I reduced it. I made it 75% because, oh my gosh, and I'm going to do a tutorial for this, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, so today we are going to be making the tote size right here. Let me just move this back. There we go. This is one I made for myself. As you can see, no bow. I'm using it as a laptop bag because you can never have too many laptop bags. And it's just so, I love this pattern. This pattern is actually pretty easy to put together. Yes, there are some, I don't want to say challenging parts, but great skill building parts. For instance, this hidden front pocket, also a back pocket right there. Love it. But you could skip it and make it easier. I mean, I will admit, when I did the 75% one, which is hidden now, it came together really quickly because I didn't put a pocket on the front. So fast, but it's a great bag. The tote size does fit my work laptop. Let me grab it. So here's my work laptop, and let's see, it's an HP EliteBook 840 G9, if that means anything to you, and it fits perfectly in here. Oops, you can't really see that. There we go. I added a sleeve for it. Oops, hold on. There we go. I added a sleeve, and you'll see how I do that in the video. I probably, if I were to do it again, I'd do it slightly differently, and I mentioned what I would do differently. But the sleeve has it, so it's padded. It's got some cushion. I put some foam in the sleeve, the base of the lining, and the back lining piece to help have it be really cushioned all around. But otherwise, everything else is per the pattern, except for the straps. Obviously, you probably noticed that the straps should be one piece. I did have some issue after I was done. Nothing with the pattern. It's me. It didn't fit well over my shoulder, and so I talk about how I changed this at the end of the video. If I were to do when I do this again, I will make longer straps if it's something for me. I'll do the normal size or length straps, I think, if I were to make one to sell on like my Etsy site. But if I were to make another for me, I would make longer straps simply because that's what I need. But yeah, I hope you've grabbed the pattern. If not, I'll put a link to it in the description below because it's a really fun pattern. It's really pretty. I mean, if you think about it, it normally has this bow. And how you make this bow is really, I think it's a great way of making it. If I want to add a bow to something, this will likely be a way I'll do it because I really like how that came together. It was very easy, but you could also do it without. It's a gorgeous pattern. So hope you stick around and watch as we put together this bag. Let's take a look at our materials for the Rachel. I'm going to be making the tote size, as I would have already said in the intro, which I haven't made yet. So anyway, here is the strap that I'm going to be making. I'm trying to say, it might look, I mean, the vinyl I'm using is Sugared Cinnamon Apple from Mormino. I have been wanting to combine it with this Foraging Flowers print for such a long time. It's so pretty. I think the French rose will work. This is looking very red, like an apple, in the light here, but in natural light, it seems to look better. That's the thing about this vinyl. It does color shift a little, which is what makes it gorgeous. I'll have to see if I like this. Worst case, I have a strap that I'll use for something else, so not a big deal. So I've got that already here, and here are, here's the hardware. So I'll be making a strap, crossbody strap. This is a tote bag or a handbag. Got things falling behind me. And so I have already prepped the straps. These are normal 1-inch straps, or handles, I'm sorry. So I cut pieces that were 2 inches wide, and as you can see, it's a double-sided one. So each was 2 inches wide, and we just folded it into the middle. It's not one where we fold it and then fold it again, so it only had to be twice the width. When you're doing a double fold, so you fold it once and then you fold it twice, it has to be 4 times the width. But This one, because we did a double-sided, each one was 2 inches wide, folded into the middle, and then I taped them together, and we will stitch an eighth of an inch down the side. So I've got those set already. Oops, one of these goes over here. Sorry. And what I'm going to add is a D-ring in case I want to hang a charm or something off of it. So that's what the D-ring is for. The connectors for that crossbody strap will be on the inside. So we'll see those in a minute. So then we've got our main panels, and let me set this aside so I'll sort of put it together for you. So as you can see, here are the 2 main panels. I'm going to put my tag on one side, and then I'm going to put just a pretty tag on the other side. So this will be what I consider the front. And so what we're going to have, let me see, a bottom piece. It has a straight edge and a bottom one that has a slight curve. Oop, there we go, sorry. And so I have marked it so that I know which is which. So that will be the bottom. Then we will have a middle piece. Let me see. It'll go like this. Right there, to give you an idea. And then we'll have this top piece right here. So that's sort of what actually we'll be top stitching on this. So it'll be more like that. So that's essentially what the panel is going to look like. There will be a pocket right here. And so as I will have already said in the intro, I'm not doing a bow. This is normally where you would have your bow as well. And so a bow would look really super cute on this, but just for me, I know I don't need a bow. And so that's what that will look like. So I've got for each of these 2 of the bottom pieces, 2 of the center, 2 of the top. I'm also going to do a drop-in lining, so I will be eventually folding this right down along the edge of the interfacing here. So all of our main pieces, this center piece is not interfaced, but stabilized. It's not stabilized with anything, but our main bottom panel, the very top panel, and our bottom panel, they're all stabilized with Decaville Light or something comparable to that. I also, you might be able to see here, I drew some lines. I do that, usually I just do it on one side. Here, let me show you this. It'll be easier. I drew a bottom one and a side one. I didn't do all the way around because I just used that to align one corner and one edge, or one side and one edge of the Decaville. If this is aligned and if I cut everything out, well, then I don't need to worry about having it squared in that corner as well. It just will. So I've got those all set up. And then I also have, these are the lining pieces for the pockets. There'll be a pocket on the front and the back of this. It'll be perfect for your phone. You can stick, this is the tote size, so it'll be a little bigger. I can fit even a few more things in there. And then I have my base. And as you can see, I have already put feet in. These are just the type that I have, they're prongs, or like I say, you can split them apart. I use some of my leftover self-adhesive fleece here to cover it. I mean, you could use certainly duct tape or something along those lines. I just like the fact that the fleece, it'll leave it a little soft feeling. And so I simply, again, you can see lines around, extra lines, in fact, like, maybe I'll do, put my purse feet here. Didn't like how that looked. So I drew another one and determined where I wanted to put them. So I just did down the middle, put something there, put something in the sides based on what I thought looked nice. Looks good. I did decide to use Peltex for this simply because I have a lot of it, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to compare how I feel the base with the Peltex feels compared to the Decaville Heavy, which I did on the small version I've already made. So that's the exterior. Let's look at our interior. So we've got 2 pieces at the top that sort of correspond to what we saw on the outside. Because I'm doing a drop-in, I have also already marked to the line to which I will fold this down. So those are already marked. I've got my strap connectors for the actual connectors here. Those go inside. Let's see, we've got a couple things here. Here are our zipper panels, all prepped. I've already, it's sort of the normal, you use the length and then I measured in, folded in the edges. So these are ready to go. And I've got my zipper tape also ready to go for that. So I've got that set aside. Oops, let me move that one. Let me move this aside for a second. Here is my base all cut out. We're going to have a big slip pocket. So I've got the 2 pieces for that. And then we're going to have an accent piece across the top as trim. So that will be, and I'm going to use this "You Look Really Pretty Today" tag, because I think it is perfect for all of this, and the color is perfect. So, oh, yay, loving that. And then we have our super fun, let me move some of this out of the way there because it'll look sort of like this, overlay. So the overlay will provide both a slip pocket right here and then a zipper pocket. I mean, so this top part should look somewhat traditional the way a zipper pocket overlay would look. The bottom part is what's a little different. And so it's really easy to put together. I mean, it looks like, oh, that's a lot there. It's so easy. Don't worry about it. So we've got this in the front. I've already prepped the pocket piece that goes here. It's super easy. You cut out the pattern piece. I kind of didn't cut the corners as well as I should have, but they should be fine. The pattern will tell you on the top edge of your lining piece here where to draw a line and to fold down to that line, and then to align it with the top of the slit here for the slip pocket. And just put it there. We will, once we start, we're going to top stitch it, and then we will adhere this down. We'll sort of top stitch all the way around. We'll go around here the way we normally would, and then we're going to do some top stitching around here to have it attached to our lining piece. Then at that point, we're just going to do a zipper pocket the way we normally do. So I have a zipper here, much longer than it needs to be, but you can see I've got that, and I've got our lining pieces for that. And that is it. I know some of this may look, you've got this different looking overlay. We're putting pockets on the outside. It might seem a little challenging. Maybe that would be the word, but it actually comes together really quite easily. And I'm not doing the bow on this, but I know there will be, Jenny will have instructions on how to do the bow. I'm sure there'll be other videos. And it really is a great way to do a bow, I must admit. So if I do a bow in something else, I'm going to use her method. I think it's great. I just, for myself, don't want a bow on this. So with that, let's get started. We're going to start with our straps and our strap connectors. Actually, I'll do the straps first because I just put it in a fresh bobbin. When I make these, this is technically going to be the top. You could do it either way. I mean, you could certainly have this as the top, but because I have so much of this as my main, having this as my top will be a nice pop, and you're still going to see it underneath. So just be aware, I'm going to do it so I'm sewing with this on the top. Move my other one. Oops, sorry, hit the camera. There we go. Okay, so let me get my jumper up a little bit. The ends of this are not going to be seen. They're going to be in the seam allowance, so you don't have to worry about those. In fact, I can start there so I can back stitch. So I'm just going to do 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I don't normally do things that fast. I clearly did not reduce the speed after creating a bobbin. Bring that down because that was fast. It's not the best looking strap, but you know what? It's fine. Mainly because I just went kind of quickly, but that's okay. I'm going to do my other one. And just so you know, I can see, I thought I did an okay job putting my two pieces together. I don't know how, you probably aren't going to see it, but the back here is not quite aligned the way I want. So I'm going to stop right for a moment, try to get that. And it could be that I just didn't fold well there, and so it could be a little wider. I just tried to move, it's just taped down, so I can kind of move things a bit. It'll be fine. There we go. There's a spot. You know, if I have to look for it, I always say this, as you're doing something, it's like, okay, it's right here where I could see it did pop up a little bit, but I had to look for it. I mean, when it's like this, you're hardly going to notice, and keep that in mind for anything. If you're like, I was going through going, oh, it got a little wide, but the fact is, I can't really see it that well, and when it's like this, you're not going to notice. If you have to search for something, don't worry about it. It's fine. We're going to do our strap connectors. I'm going to bring my hump jumper down because this is thinner. So this is just the 1 inch that's full. I'm sorry, 2 inches that's folded in to make a 1 inch. We don't have to do a double fold, just the one. And I'm going to have to bring that down more. There we go. It's thinner vinyl. I'm going to set these aside because we aren't going to need these until we get to the inside. I'm going to, sorry, clunk, clunk, clunk. Just because I'm here, I want to just do the strap. Now I tested my webbing. I love this debossed webbing, but it's very smooth. And even sometimes on a narrower strap slider, and I just have this one that's not even a movable one. That's all I seem to have for this metal finish. But it can be very smooth, and it's sometimes to the point where it still will feel loose in the slider. And so, like I do often, I'm going to put just the sort of an end on it. I usually like to use faux suede, but I don't have any in like a chocolate brown that I think would look nice. So I'm just using some regular vinyl. And like I normally do on one end, if I can cut it, there we go. On the end that's going to go on the slider, I cut that 4 inches long by the width of your webbing. And I wrap it so 1 inch of it is coming around the back. I think it just gives it a nice finish on the edge. And then I just top stitch it down 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I don't do the bottom right here because I will do that when I sew it all together. And hold on. Grab my threads. Sorry, my arm was in the way there, but had to. And just because I like things to be symmetrical, I do the same on the other end, but I use a 3-inch piece, so it's smaller. This is the end that's going to go with one of the swivel hooks. And I do back stitch with this. I mean, you are wrapping a piece around, but I don't feel this is a place where you should be tying things off. You want this to still be pretty sturdy, so I back stitch it. Now I can make the strap. So I'm going to come back to my long end, take the slider, put it through. So I'm putting it through. This webbing it's debossed, so it's only on one side will you have the pattern. It's smooth on the other side. So it's the smooth side that's going to have the bar against it. I'm going to slide this over. And I just pull it through so that I can line up the end here with the end here, basically. I will clip it. I'll go through and melt some of this down later. But I'm going to clip the sides. You have a choice. I always like to at least do one line of stitches down here at the bottom. You can try to get as close as you can also to the bar here so that it sort of doesn't move around. Or you can put a rivet there. Maybe I'll do another 2 rows here, but as I said, I always do a row at the bottom. Fuzz there. There we go. So yeah, I always do that one. Take the clips off now. Let's just. So it is sewn in place now, but I have to decide, do I want a rivet or not? And I think I'll sew it. I could still put a rivet in later if I wanted to. I'm going to try to pull this back. Now this is one of the downsides of using one where the bar doesn't slide. It's not going to slide up because I like to pull this as far back as I can to sew as close as I can to that bar, and I'm just limited then obviously. You could use a zipper foot, Yeah, I'm still going to do this. I might still put a rivet there just a little higher up just to try to keep it from sliding around too much. But this puts another row there to really strengthen the strap there. So it's not going anywhere. Also was not entirely straight what I did, but that's okay. What I could do if it mattered a lot to me, sometimes I've done things here where they're not entirely straight. I'll do a second row to sort of even it out. So you can always do that if it's important to you. So the part with the raw edge, that is my front. So, and obviously we've got the side on the back that doesn't have any of the roses. So I'm going to put my slider through with it upside down. My slider's upside down. The strap is upside down. I'm sorry, not the slider, the swivel hook. Put this up and over. Hopefully that vinyl, it's still pretty smooth, but I think that's going to help some. It's going to provide a little bit better, more than it did before. And put this through here. And again, I'm going to line it up so the two ends are aligned. And this is where I definitely use a clip if I can while I'm starting. And I'm just going to do a line of stitches. That looks good. Okay. So I don't have a lighter right next to me, so I'm not going to melt those down yet, but that's done. So let's move on to the exterior. Let's start that. So the front and back are sewn together exactly the same way. I'm not going to show both of them in the video just because it will make it really long, but I will try to make sure I show all of this really well. So I've got my tag here. I'm going to sew that down first. Bring my stitch length down. I like to do that with about a 4. I will tie these off in the back. Sewn down, and next we're going to I'm going to do my bottom piece because that's an easy one to do. So again, we've got our bottom. There is, and I was holding it upside down, there is a slight curve to it. So I really recommend when you're cutting it out to mark your top. I would actually mark it also for your stabilizer here because I feel that curve is even more subtle. So just be careful. But yeah, that's what you'll want to do there. So I'm going to put right sides together. The bottom of that center main panel and the top, of the bottom panel. I'm going to clip all the way across. And we're going to sew for the seam allowance in the pattern. I think mine's stretched a little, just a little bit, but that's okay. I can trim that up. So now what I'm going to do is fold this down. We're going to be top stitching as we do all of this basically on the middle pan, or on the bottom, on the contrast. That's what this is called, the contrast panel. That's where we're going to be doing our top stitching. And so I'm going to do that one now before we move on to the next section. Just going to 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I'm sorry, I should have mentioned the seam is folded down towards it. So it's, again, if we're top stitching on this, we want the seam pointed down. I should have also note it now, the main panel it's not a perfect rectangle, so there are angles to it. So do ensure, that's another one where you might want to mark the top so you know where the top is on that. Yeah, this one's stretched a little bit. I'll just trim that when I am ready to put things together. So there we have that part now. So the next thing we're going to do is take one of the middle contrast pieces. Now, if you're doing the bow, the instructions are going to tell you where to put a piece of stabilizer here because you need that to help support the bow itself. I wrote top on here because there are some slight angles to the side, so you do still want to ensure it's not, again, a perfect rectangle. So ensure you know where your top is. But what we're going to do is align our centers. The thing too with mine, it may have stretched and you can see it's very smooth. Ooh, but part of what I like about this vinyl. If you have vinyl, I could go through and tape this because it is this contrast. It is so smooth. I love it, but it does mean it moves around a bit. So if you have material like that, you could always tape these pieces together. I'm okay, and if I have to trim a little, that's fine, but know that you can do that. Okay, so we're going to sew this at our seam allowance in the pattern. I feel like things slipped. As I said, maybe I should have. Yeah, things did slip, you can see. So I am actually thinking, how do I want to do this? I don't want it to slip anymore. So I'm going to clip the side right here to help it from slipping down. I think it'll be okay. It's not quite 1/8 of an inch, so I think it'll be okay. But just something to be careful about. So now we normally would top stitch. I mean, as I mentioned, we're going to be top stitching on these contrast pieces, and we will be top stitching on this. I technically could because I'm not doing the bow, but if you're doing the bow, you want to wait because what will happen is eventually we're going to have your bow sort of it's like a strap that holds it here, holds it to the center part. It's going to come through and you're going to stitch it down here when you do the top stitching. So you don't want to top stitch this yet. You could certainly press it up to help it stay that way, but we're not going to top stitch that yet. Okay, so again, we're going to now actually let me put this aside 1 second. Let me get the next pieces prepped. Okay, I'm going to do one step out of order from what's in the pattern. The pattern actually has you next put the straps on, the handles on. I'm going to do that in a moment. I want to prep the next step after that first, and that's putting one of our lining pieces for those front slip pockets onto our top accent piece here, whatever the very top piece is called. It's the top piece. And so we're going to sew this down. This has a different seam allowance than everything else, so ensure that you are following that. You do need to ensure you keep that. It's important because we want this to be a hidden pocket, so you have to keep that seam allowance. I'm going to stitch that down. And we're going to top stitch that so you can fold this down. So again, we did right sides together. And so it's going to look like this. So you can see it's hanging down. But let me get my top stitch line. Okay, so we're going to top stitch this down. Okay, so got that all set. Let's move back to the prior step now. Okay, So we have here what we've sewn together so far. It's a little awkward because this isn't top stitched, I know. Don't worry. The pattern's going to tell you where to, after you find your center, hopefully I mark my centers before I do everything, so that's already there. But you need to put marks an equal distance on each side of that center mark. We're then going to take one of our handles. If you're going to put a D-ring on them for charms, I mean, if you do one on each side, then just put one on each time. I'm putting one only on the front. I forgot to do it last time, so I put it on right after I finished top stitching the strap. I didn't want to forget. And so I've got it there. This is going to be the front, so I have my D-ring sort of pointed through the front. This is the back. And so what I want to do is find my mark. We're going to put it on the outside of the mark. Line it up. In fact, I'm going to use a clip because it's so... I'm just going to do one side at a time. We're going to base those down. I think I mentioned before one time that often when I do straps, I don't start at the very edge when I'm sewing them down. I sort of start in the middle because I find with webbing, or in this case because the vinyl's so smooth, if I start on the edge, it pushes it a little bit. If I start in the middle, I've locked it down. And so I will do that. Then I'll go back. I'll go forwards. I mean, we're just basting at this point, so I don't think that matters so much, but that's what I do. And that's what I did here because there's a lot of movement right now because of my slick vinyl, which again, I love. And we're going to wrap it around. Now make sure your straps don't twist. And find your second mark. We're just aligning it to the top. We're not doing any overhang because there will be a seam allowance. It'll be caught in that. Again, I'm going to make sure I've got it on the right spot. Kind of start in the middle. So now in the next step, we're going to be putting this piece that we just sewed with the lining piece onto this. Now, you know, we do normally do right sides together, so it's going to look a little weird. I'm going to have to go prep this over at my cutting table because not only are we going to align it that way, but we need to mark, I'm going to try to show you on this, we need to put marks on the back. We're only going to sew to a certain point. We need to leave an opening in the middle for the pocket. And so we need to be careful with how we sew. So I'll be right back. I'm going to go prep it and then I'll show you what we're doing. Okay, so I have everything prepped. Let me try to get this out of the way there. I'm not going to sew with that underneath. That would be bad. But so I've got the way we normally would expect. This is right sides together, the bottom edge of this with the top edge of this. I've also marked, sorry, my line's got a little goofy, but there's a line right here and right here. I'm only sewing to those points. So that's an important thing to note. Because my material is pretty slick and because we've got this in the middle, I did decide to tape it down. I just felt it was easier to help hold it in place, to put some tape there within the seam allowance. I also drew on the seam allowance because at some point, I mean, I can align this with the markers on my table here, but I'm not going to be able to really see where that should be. And so I drew my seam allowance so I know what that should be. And hopefully it's about even. Let's see. I've got 2 lines there. It doesn't help when you have 2. It's the bottom one. Okay, so I did that on both sides. And so now we're going to sew that down. I'm going to start at this end. And bring this up a little. Again, we want to keep our handles straight. Now, if you need to use a hump jumper when you get to your handle, do that. I'm just going to crank mine up here. I'm going to go back over it to strengthen it. And now I am at that point, so it can be done. And that was lucky that I realized that because I almost kept going. So just be careful. Now we'll do the same for the other side. This time I'm going to start on that point. I could turn it around and sew from this end, but I think it's easier having something lighter in here in the throat for me than having all of this in there. So I'm going to come over here and keeping my handle nice and straight and put my needle into the point and we'll get going. And things slipped back here. Oh, badly. Actually, I can see. Look at that. I'm gonna pull this because I need this to be straight. So I'll be right back. I'm going to pull the stitches on here. I'm going to try to go through the same line on the front, but maybe it's better to do it from this side so you can ensure things don't move around. So I'll be right back. So we're going to do it from this side. I marked the same way I did before, so I know how far I need to go. I just feel I can keep this part just nicely aligned. I still have the tape there, but I can feel where I need to be, and I think that's what I need to do for this one. Making sure my strap is nice, or handle's nice and straight. Okay. So the back looks good. Yep, we look good here. We'll see how it goes. I can see it looks like I went a little... We'll see how this all goes. It may not be the greatest, but we'll be fine. I'll figure it out. Okay. So now, this is where I'll see how bad it is. Maybe I can fudge it a little. Went a little wide, not a ton. Hopefully it'll be okay. I don't know if you can see here. Things just, I have to think about the best way to kind of do this. That's my line, and I'm right there. A little high, but I think it'll be fine. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do, you would be doing your bow now. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just top stitch now on my bottom. So we'll pretend we've already skipped to that. You will have done the bow, and you will have the part that sort of holds it down right here over this piece. You can use double-sided tape to hold it in place if you'd like, but I am just going to top stitch on this bottom part now. 1/8 of an inch from the edge, not top stitching on the top yet. So we still have to put in the lining piece. Okay. And it's folding up towards that contrast because we're top stitching on that. You can see I have a couple of threads here from when I pulled those stitches. There you go. Okay. I know it feels a little weird to have this open and you haven't top stitched yet, but trust me, it's going to all come together. Okay, so what we want to do now, we've got this one piece of our lining, and it's going to feel a little weird, but we're going to press open our seams. I know I taped them here, but we're going to press them open like this. Your handle is going to be on the bottom one, so it's pointing down. And what I do like to do, this middle part here, these sides here are going to want to sort of naturally press down because we have it stitched on the side. Same with over here. But it's not going to want to in the middle. And so I'm going to put some tape there to help hold that down. I'm going to draw a line where it would need to be because, it'll be in line with what we did here for stitching. And then I'm going to put some tape there so I can fold it down so that it will sort of have a natural line that goes all the way across. So I'll be right back. I'm going to put that tape down and you'll see how it'll look. I've got a lot going on here. Let me move this out of the way. So what I've done, so you can see here, and trying to keep everything in place, is I have, there I go, pressed open the seams right here. Hopefully you can see that. And I put some tape down. The handle, of course, just, it doesn't want to doesn't want to cooperate. And if you have a flatbed, it's going to make it easier, you know, I think, but still, I'm going to try to hold that down as much as I can. And then we've got that top one here, which I put a little tape behind here, actually a little fabric glue as well, to just try to hold those down. What we're going to do now, and I will have to go align everything at my cutting table, but we're going to take our second lining piece. You can see I've got some double-sided tape on it. We of course want to align it so that it's even on the sides with the original, but we're going to put it so that it aligns with this bottom edge of the seam we just pressed open. So you can see we've got the top on this top piece here. This is the seam that we split open for this contrast piece. We're going to align the sides and put this so it's right side down, and the edge is going to go right at the edge right here all along. So where the straps are, the handles are, it's going to be a little fidgety, but it can be done. I said I don't have a lot of space here, so I'm going to go line it up and then we'll come sew it on. Okay, that second one is there now. I'm going to make sure we're all still lined up. You could certainly glue it down if you wanted. That might be not a bad thing. I'm suddenly getting into glue. Hold on, it is moving around a little back here. Because we're going to top stitch it from the front, obviously, but we want to ensure, excuse me, that this stays nice and flat. The top stitching we do is going to be what adheres it to the back and becomes our lining. So it'll still be easier this way. Okay, so I'm just making sure it's all there. We should be okay. I've got my stitch length still where I want it to be. Now we're going to top stitch on the accent piece again, 1/8 of an inch from the edge. I'm just taking a look, making sure it still looks like it's lined up. It does. Now you may also be wondering about the D-ring. Don't worry about it right now. We're going to eventually rivet it right here so it'll hold it in place. So just let it sort of flip around here. It's fine. Now you might want to increase the height of your presser foot if you can. Get a hump jumper as you get to the handle. Over there. There we go. So we've got, let me make sure I caught everything. Yep, it clearly moved around a little bit. I'm okay with that. You can see it went below. That's okay. It means my pocket might be a little shallower than it should be, but I'm okay with that because what we'll do is we'll fold these down. We are going to close this up, but let's take a look from the front. So this is what it looks like from the front. We now have right here this pocket right here, so you can see. So it's something where I'm going to kind of crease things a little bit. It's a great little hidden pocket. So now what we want to do is come to the back. Yeah, as I said, because mine shifted down a little bit, it's not as even as it should be. That's okay. I'm going to put my sides together. And sort of like what we do with, actually, sorry, we do want it to like, it's a little funky. There we go, like this. I am going to sew, bring this back down. You want to sew the sides shut. Now you can go, make it as narrow or as wide as you'd like. The way it's made is you can put your phone in, and actually some changes were made to the pattern so that you should be able to put your phone straight down. Mine is shallower, one, already because my material I had to cut a little shorter. I just didn't have enough. And two, I'm going to have to change it a little here. So it should still fit my phone, but we'll see by putting it straight down. But it's wide enough that you can put your phone down at an angle and it'll fit in. So I'm going to just do sort of a pretty wide border around here. I'm going to come in, as you can see, I'm going to come in this way first. That's what I like to do. It sort of closes off the top. Just a little bit here. And then I'm going to back out of it. Oh, that's more. There we go. I'm going to go like this. There we we go, a few stitches. Now I can turn around and come around this way. I'm just gonna kind of come up a little shorter than I should just to accommodate how it's off on one side. Stitch. That's about where I want it to be. Close. I'm clearly not going to sew into it, but I'm going to come across again. So let me grab my phone. There, this string. Let's get the threads out of the way first. Where's my phone? Hold on one second. Okay. So here it is. And so we've got and just sort of crease that a little bit there. So what we're going to do, as I said, let's see. I'll put this in. Oh, it's still perfect. So you can see it's going down to there. There it is on the back. There's my phone. And let's hold this up straight. And of course, will hold better once it's all sewn, but you can't even see it. That's perfect. Perfect. You can fit quite a bit in there. That's our front panel. Don't worry about the rivet yet. We're going to do that later. But yeah, so this one's done. Now what I'm curious about, let's see, let's fold this in half. I want to see, I said I know I goofed up my seam allowance on this top panel. So let's see. So this aligns where it should. Maybe it's going to be okay. These are looking okay right there. It looks... I think it's going to be okay. What I was trying to see is how close is everything here. And I think you can hopefully see it all. Hopefully you can see. They look like they're lining up pretty well. This one's a little higher, but I think it's okay. And I wanted to see if, when it's all said and done, if this still works, because I'm going to do a drop-in lining. I want that to be straight. Let me see. Whoops. How does it look if I look at it? It looks pretty straight. So I think it's okay. Yeah, so I'm going to do the other side, and then when I'm done with that, I'll come back and we will sew the whole thing together. So now what we need to do, let me just grab the other one, is, and as we normally would expect, we need to sew these together. So we're going to clip, and I'm going to, this is just me, but because I have such slick materials here, you can do a couple of things. You can either staple, like I'm going to do right here on the seams to make sure they don't slip, because you really want these seams here and then these seams here. You want them all to line up nicely, or I guess that would be the word, align. You could put tape there, you could staple there, you could glue it. I'm just going to staple it because I have it right here, and why not? So I'm going to staple that within the seam allowance just to hold it in place. Yeah, perfect. I'm going to do, so I'm going to, now this is where I'll be able to see how something, yeah, so it's close. It's going to be a little off right here, but I can deal with that. I'm going to still hold it up straight. Let's see. Let's clip in the middle first. Yeah. It's not even. Can I pull it? I can maybe pull it. Yeah, I can pull it and make it even. Stretch it a little bit. There. That worked. I like to clip on the top to ensure it doesn't go up if I can avoid it. There. I will also clip the bottom, even though I'm obviously not sewing the bottom, just have to keep everything together. Now let's come to this side. I'm going to start at the bottom. I'll line those up. Yeah, looks pretty good. Start clipping along the side. This side is better. that out of the way now. Okay. Great. Now I'm going to sew both sides per the seam allowance of the pattern. And let me get my chair closer. Hold on. See. Take the staples out in a minute. So find the staple remover. So we're going to do the same on the other side. And that moved. I can see it. Even with it clipped on top. Shouldn't have taken that off. Okay. Okay, we got to take the staples out. So yes, things went askew at some point, but I think it should be fine. I marked my centers. The centers I had originally, because things went askew, are not quite right. So I just sort of put some marks there. I am going all out. I've got tape. I'm going to use clips. I'm going to staple. I think I'll staple. We'll see. What I'm going to first do is clip the edges. So I've got everything is wrong side out at the base. I've got all my centers marked on the base, and so I'm aligning them. I just have pen markings. I didn't cut anything. Here we go. And then on the sides, we can see where our sides are. Side centers. I'm just going to open up my side seam and try to get it in there. Now I'm going to work my way around. I will need to snip into the corners, not the corners, the curves. But I'm going to first clip the straight edges. Okay, now we'll start to snip into those curves. So you don't want to do very much, don't do more than 1/4 of an inch. You can space them out every 1/4 inch or 3/8 of an inch. I'm just going to go all the way around and do them, and then I'll clip everything into place. Okay, so I think I'm trying to decide if the tape is enough. It may be. And if you've seen enough of my videos, you know I'm going to take this off, and we're going to do it right there on the cylinder arm. So let's do that right now. Okay, we are ready. Here's a ruler. Let's see. Here we go. I have to put some new sort of the multicolored tape that you put down, which has your seam allowance there. I need to put some more down. I haven't yet, so I'm gonna just use a ruler to sort of gauge where I need to be. And then I'm gonna move my seam guide to that. There we go. Okay. So now we're just gonna go around. I think the tape should be good. Yeah, I think it should be okay. I'm gonna start on a straight edge. Hope I'm not gonna eat those words. I am going to eat those words. I'm going to staple it. I can just feel it's going to slip. So we're going to staple the curves. I think it's right here. Okay, let's pick up where we left off. So I am going to do a second row, but I don't think I got full seam allowance all the way around. So, you can see it did slide right there. So what I'm going to do right here, I'm going to trim this because I wanted to do the full seam allowance, and that's going to screw it up. And over here a little too. I should have stapled all the way around. That's okay. Okay, let's see. Close enough everywhere else. I'll fix this. Because I based my seam allowance on the outer, on right here, but if that was sticking out more than the base, then you really weren't getting that full seam allowance. So I'm going to trim it, and now let's see. Try to make sure we're doing full amount all the way around. Didn't think so. This curve is giving me problems, and you could see I went a little wide right there. I'm not going to worry about that. I don't want to say it's giving me problems, but I might have an easier time doing it from this side. Let's see. So you might not be able to see it because I have to hold it up this way. Sorry about that. But I really want to get this the right seam allowance. No, hold on. Going the wrong way though. Let's do this. There we go. Okay, that's the second pair I've dropped. That was better. Take staples out. I'm going to cut down my seam allowance a little. Actually, do I want to? Yeah, I will. I'm going to cut down the seam allowance a little bit. I have now done 2 rows because I wanted to even out that original row of stitches, so don't need to do another one again. All right. Okay, that's good enough. And let's turn it because 1, I want to see it, and 2, I need to turn it anyway because I am doing a drop-in. So one thing I want to see is how does the base look? And that looks okay. I'm just going to see. Here it is. I'm going to just kind of massage the seams to try to help it all even out a little bit. But it looks good. Okay. Get the pockets down. There we go. So here's the front. Here's the back. And again, where's my phone? One sec. I can easily, oh, sorry, it'll be easier when you're holding it, but I can slide my phone in here. There we go. We'll never know. I mean, I know this is gaping right here now, but once it's all together, you'll never know. Oh, that is so pretty. I love it. I absolutely love it. I wonder, I was thinking about whether I could make this into, like, maybe if I need to make it larger to make it a laptop bag. I think I would. This would not be tall enough unless I did, I don't know, I'm just thinking about it. No, I'm trying to think how much larger would it need to be also to be a laptop bag. Yeah, it's looking so cute. So let's come back for the lining. Change of plan for the lining. Last night when I finished the exterior, I brought it, oops, sorry, moving things around, brought it upstairs. I was curious if it would fit my work laptop. So here's my work laptop. It's not a large laptop, but it fits, I don't know how well you can see it fits in there, but it's perfect. It's going to fit perfectly below where the zipper panel will be. And so when I realized that, I knew that meant I had to make this into an actual laptop tote. So I'm changing things a little bit. I'm changing the slip pocket, the divided slip pocket. So instead of there just being a divided slip pocket on one side, there will now be a sort of a sleeve for my laptop. So it's not going to close off the section. You will see the bottom of my laptop in the bag, but it's going to sort of keep it against the back of the bag. And it's, oh, I just realized I probably need, so I've got some foam that I need to put some foam on the back panel too. So I've got now foam. Here's my base. I've got foam here because I want to protect that. I've got the the sleeve with some foam, and then I will have to put a piece of foam behind the actual lining piece as well, because I do want to make sure that it's very secure. So just there's some changes we're making there. Otherwise, I mean, I'm still going to use the divided pocket. I've made that sleeve large enough that I can put the divided pocket on there. So you'll still see how we're going to do that. I've changed the measurements of how it will divide just slightly so that it better fits my laptop. But otherwise, it's all going to be the same. So the first thing we're going to do is put the bag down. Because I have foam here, I just thought, you know what, I'm going to just do a stitch around so that it sort of keeps it in place. It'll look nice. I think I'm going to do, let's see, should I do a 5/8? Yeah, that should be good. I'm just going to sort of go along. I'm just going to go with one of the marks that I happen to have here on my tape that's wearing off. But that should be fine. I'm not concerned about, I mean, you could, if you decide to do something like this, you could tie it off behind. I'm not really that concerned, so I will backstitch, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Dropping everything. What else is new? Okay. So there. Just a little something. Give it a little extra. I'll put this on the side by the laptop sleeve. Okay. So let's now, I just thought I'd move on to some of the things that I need to do in advance before I can start putting everything together. And you know, rather than doing one side at a time and then the other side, I'm going to do all of this prep work first. So the first thing we're going to prep is the overlay. So this is the piece you cut out. So it looks like this. There's also a lining piece. So as you can see here, there's this lining piece we've got. The pattern will tell you at the top, you need to draw a line and you need to fold the top edge down to that line and then align it with the top of the overlay. So you're essentially just creating the lining there. We then want to top stitch below that to hold it in place. Now, I do mine a little differently than what Jenny does. You obviously can do really however you want. The goal is to ensure that your lining is going to be top stitched and eventually sewn in place, that your overlay is sewn in place, and that your zipper, when you have that, is sewn in place. So there are a couple different ways to do it. She will first do a bottom here, basically from 1/8 of an inch from each main edge here across, 1/8 of an inch from the bottom here. And I just saw I've got a little snag there. Let me just get this. And then she'll go all the way around. Well, no, I'm sorry. Then she'll go around and she creates little boxes here essentially. And then we'll do this. I do something a little similar. I don't have this whole area sort of sewn off the way she does, but I think it's fine. I tend to do it more in one larger, like a bigger movement. So I'm first though, as I said, I need to top stitch right below to hold that in place. I did already, and similar to what she did, I found where 1/8 of an inch would be below and to the side of one edge of the bottom box for the slip pocket, and I'm going to hold my threads. I'm going to tie those off, and I'm just going to go across. My line isn't quite right, but that's okay. And so now I want to go to where I've got get my light out of the way here, my other hole or other dot. Now we can tie those off, cut those, tie them off. So as you can see, now it's top stitched on the back. That part's done. Looks pretty good. So I've already taped on the zipper part of the overlay. I like to use 1/4 inch tape when I do this, and I sort of run it right down the middle. Yes, there is a chance I might sew over it, but if I'm doing a good 1/8 inch, I likely won't. I'm going to add just a little bit down here as well. You could certainly put it around the edges, 1/8 inch, I would say, all around the edges if you want, but I'm comfortable just putting a little bit down at the bottom and then this here. I'm going to go put this on my lining piece, and no, yes, sorry, I think that I skipped something. No, I didn't skip anything. I'm going to go put this on my lining piece and we're going to prep that. The measurements are in the pattern. Gosh, talking words are hard today. And then I'll show you how I do the actual zipper part. The pattern will instruct you how to sew the lining pieces to the zipper. You definitely can do that. I just have a different way, and so I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so we have it in place. The first thing I'm going to do is finish sewing around my slip pocket box here. I'm not going to do anything else yet. I just want to finish that. So let me get my threads long, so I'm going to tie those off again. I'm going to start in a hole where I sort of left off, and I'll go around 1/8 of an inch. Thought I pulled an extra thread. No, just long. So got the beginnings there. That'll be our slip pocket. So now what we want to do, and I can see one thread started to pop out a little, but it'll be fine. What I might do right here, that's where I pulled through what I want to cross this way. I can see it's a tad loose. I might put a dab of glue on that when I switch and do the other side. I said I wasn't going to do one side at a time. Here I am. But just to make sure it stays in place. Otherwise, it'll be fine. Anyway, so what I was going to say is now I'm going to do the border around the rest. And so what I'm going to do is basically start on one edge. I'm going to go all the way around and then back over here. There will be a little bit right here that won't be stitched down. I'm not really concerned about that. But I think I like how that looks. So I'm going to start. You can start, I guess, really wherever you want. Maybe I'll start on the bottom because you're less likely to see that. It's going to be at the very bottom. So, and I could then, if I want, backstitch, because to be all honest, as I said, this is mine. So I'm not too concerned. So just doing 1/8 of an inch from the edge all the way around. Okay, so you can see we now have that sewn down here as our pocket. There's just the teeniest bit right here where I don't have anything sewn. Jenny does show you, I mean, it's essentially sewing right over that. And so if you can definitely do that. I'm not bothered by having that little bit right there without a line. I think it looks fine. But slip pocket done. We now need to cut out this section so we can put in our zipper pocket. You might be thinking, oh, just by habit, you see an opening, you cut it out. You see an opening, cut out. Don't cut this out. Don't cut that one. If you do, you've got a problem because that, again, that's your slip pocket. So I'm going to go cut this out and I'll be right back with the zipper and we'll be ready to put that on. All set, all prepped, zipper's in there. You may notice it's going to the right as opposed to the left. There's nothing that says that your zipper has to go in one direction or another. Yes, most of us tend to put it to the left. You can go in any direction you want. I normally do put mine so it closes to the left, but my zipper pockets are also usually against the back of the bag, and so it's going in the same direction as any top zipper I might have. This is going to go on the front of the bag because the back, what'll be against my body, will be where the laptop will go, and so that it still goes in the same direction as the zipper panels on the top, I need to put it in the other direction. So that's just me being ridiculously silly, but there you go. I have one panel prepped, so as you can see, you can sort of see here, the zipper tape is down. I've got it centered in there. I've got one zipper panel here, it's right side down, so this is the wrong side, and it's aligned with the bottom of the panel here. And so what I'm going to do now is, there we go, get my threads long. I'm going to go like I did here. I'm going to go about an inch from the side right here, and an inch from the bottom, not an inch, I'm sorry, 1/8 of an inch from the side and bottom, as close as I can get there. Right now, I mean, on the other one I did sort of measure. Here I'm winging it. There we go. And so I'm just going to stitch down, threads long so I can tie them off. Know when I do this and I put it under the presser foot needle, my foot is nowhere near the pedal at the moment. But when you don't have a flat bed, you gotta make do with what you've got. Okay, so now what we want to do is fold that down. Fold that down, have a nice crease. It's our bottom panel. We're going to take our other one, and this is the right side. I'm using Renew canvas, which is recycled water bottle material from Mormino, and you can see the front and back basically look the same, and sometimes one side will be darker. There is a definite difference in how it feels. I mean, so the front has a slight softness to it, while the back has kind of more of that canvasy feel. And so that's just how you can tell the difference. That's how I can tell the difference. So I'm going to align this on the top part now of the zipper tape, right along the edge. I usually do this over at my table, so forgive me. I think I gotta move it over a little bit. I want to try to align it to the sides as well. So get this as close as I can there. There we go. Just taping it down there. There. So now I'm going to start over here where actually that's where I started. You could go in the other direction too. I just like to start over on this side and work my way that way. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, no, this will still be fine. So I'm going to put my needle in a hole right there, and move this forwards a little. There we go. And just start my way around. So there is our pocket. You still have to close it. Now I'm going to be doing a drop-in lining, so I can close my pocket. If you aren't and you're birthing it, then you'll want to sew up the sides, fold them up a little. They are long, as you can see. This is quite long, but you'll want to leave an opening there. But as I said, I'm doing a drop-in, so I am going to sew it up entirely. Bring my hump jumper down. So I'm gonna, from the front, I'm just folding over the sides. I'm gonna sew down, across the bottom, and back up. And I'm just kind of arbitrarily choosing where I want the bottom to be. Finish pocket, finish slip pocket. I'm going to go trim this down and we'll be back and we're going to do the other side. Okay, so if you are, make sure I've got these right sides together too. Yeah, I do. Okay, good. Not if you are. You're doing it per the pattern, you're going to add a divided slip pocket. I realized afterwards, I mean, so this is something where we're going to sew the bottom together. We're going to leave the top unsewn. We'll sort of fold it back around and we're putting a trim on the top. You could actually cut this as one big piece and fold it in half. I probably could have done that. I didn't think about it ahead of time. That's what I did for the laptop sleeve, which I'll show you in a minute. But what I want to do right now is just sew this together, because we're just sewing one side. We're going to flip it over. You don't have to worry about the sides either, because this is going to go into the side seam. So you're just sewing the bottom there. So you can trim that down if you want. I'm not too worried about it. But you want to just fold it in the other direction, and I'm going to go over, I'll press it. I mean, if you have an iron, you can certainly do that. I'm just going to finger press it here, but I'll probably use my seam roller just to give it a nice, good seam here. But I'm going to put this aside for right now. Normally what you would do is add your trim right now, but I want to essentially do the same for what is going to be my laptop sleeve. So this is one, let me make sure, yeah, I have it the right way. This is, I don't think this was, I can't tell now if this is waterproof canvas slate or Renew, but regardless, this is one piece. As you can see, it's just folded over. What I want to do here is sew together the top just to sort of keep it closed. I'm going to do that at about 1/4 of an inch. And then I'm going to do some quilting on it, just some random quilting. What I do have in here, there's foam. Forgot to mention that. So the pattern will tell you how far, when we divide it, where you need to sew some marks. We're going to put this on the back panel. Pretend this is the pocket. You'd put this on one of your panels for the lining. You'd sew up the middle, obviously it's divided, but because the bag curves, I mean, some of this here on the side becomes a little bit useless space, and so we do also stitch that down. It helps to keep the main parts of your divided pocket in a nice shape and not gaping too much. Well, with those measurements, it was going to be too narrow for my laptop, so I just determined how wide I needed that to be. And I cut a piece of foam to be the width that needed to be and put it in there. And it's just in there, and I'm going to, as I said, quilt it to give it a little texture. But then these sides do not have foam. I don't want that in the seam allowance. So I only put it where I was going to need it. Now this will get trim as well. I'm going to put some of the color that I have. I think that'll look nice on that, just to cover the top there. I certainly could have sewn this right sides together and then just had a seam at the top, but I thought, why not add the trim? Now what I want to do, I'm going to lower my stitch length a little bit. I'm just going to do some random quilting over the foam. It'll just give it a little texture, compress it a little bit, because I don't need it to be so poofy. And actually start at the top. This part right up here is going to be covered by trim, so you can back stitch. Actually, let's do it this way. I can back stitch right here. Trim those further, but now I can just start. So nothing major. Just a little bit there. Compress it a little bit. I will end up doing the same to the back panel of the lining, for the main bag as well, because I am going to need some foam there to protect the back side of my laptop. Okay, so I'm going to go over, I'm going to put the trim on both of my pieces, this one and the other, and then we will top stitch that down. Okay, we're going to stitch down the trim. Because there's foam here, may end up being a little uneven. I think it'll be fine, but it's thicker in some places. So this is just basic 1-inch trim. It is definitely going to be longer on one side. I don't care. What you do is you can draw a line down the middle, and depending on how thick the material is that you are trimming, you may need to put it right on the line, right below the line, a decent amount below the line, just so that it will be even on both sides. Because if you were to fold it in half, yes, then this would be even. But once you put something in between, you're adding some thickness, and you need to compensate for that. I am okay with it longer on one side on what will be the back side, because when we do 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the trim on the front, I know it's going to catch it on the back. If I had it perfectly even, or what I thought was perfectly even, and then did my 1/8 of an inch, there's a good chance I would have missed it. So I'm okay this way. I am going to back stitch on the ends because they will be in the seams. And so we're just going to do 1/8 of an inch from the raw edge. I cut it a little longer, and so I'm just going to cut that little bit off. So there we go. Looks good on that side. And as I said, I knew it was going to be longer here. I don't care. You can see I kind of had an issue there. It's fine. Actually, that will end up being sewn into the sides. So now let's do the same for what will be our slip pocket. We're not doing anything with the bottom yet. That will be top stitched down when we attach it, in this case for me, to my laptop sleeve. Fuzz off. That looks good. Looks fine. Yeah, I can see I must not have folded it over very evenly. You can see how clearly on the back it doesn't look even, but it looks pretty darn even on the front. Pretty straight. Yeah, it looks pretty straight, pretty even. Just it must have stretched a little bit. And that's fine. So now what we're going to do, we're going to sort of do this in 2 parts. I am going to put this, and I think I'm trying to decide how much space. I don't need that much space at the top of it. We're going to first treat this a little bit like our main panel. What we would do next, if you weren't doing a laptop sleeve, is you would take this and you would put the slip pocket on the main panel. The pattern will tell you where you need to put it, you know, how high you want it to go. And that's when you would stitch it down. You would be, depending on how you want to do it. If you're good at sort of the Pac-Man stitching, then go for it. I am not good at that. So what I normally do when I stitch things down is I go across the bottom just to have it nice in place. And then I'll have some lines that I'll put, in this case I'll do them in chalk so I can just wipe them down. And so I can stitch down on the sides where I need to, and the center. That's what you do if you're attaching it to your main panel. You can also leave a little bit right here if you want, rather than going all the way to the top, and put a rivet. If you don't, just back stitch really well. On all of these, you're going to want to back stitch really well at the top because there'll be stress there. It's going to be different for me now though, because I have this sleeve. So what I'm going to do first, stitch across the bottom. I'll sort of determine where I want it to go. I'll clip it. I might put a little tape there to help hold it in place, and then I'll come stitch across the bottom. Then I will also figure out where the middle is, and I'm going to stitch in the middle because I do still want this to be a divided pocket. I'm fine that you would see it from this side. That's where the laptop will be, so it's not a big deal. And you can see, you can't even see what I did. This is, if you look inside the pockets, you'll see them. As I said, it was just to compress the foam a little bit. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to just stitch it down the middle. We're then going to put it on the main panel, and we'll do those side stitches there because I want the whole thing to be sort of tight against that main panel. So I'm going to go get this aligned, and we'll stitch all this down. We are set. I've got it taped at the bottom. Decided about 1 inch from the top was good. And so what I'm going to do, as I said, I'm going to do top stitching, or stitching, down the bottom. In fact, let me change my stitch length here a little bit. I usually do 2 rows for 2 reasons. One, it's added strength. If it's a pocket, I want to ensure that it's really strong and durable down there. But I also put tape there. It's just 1/8 inch, but just in case there's a chance you might feel it when you go inside. If you do 2 rows, you've pretty much covered it. You've got it encased. So I'm going to start with 1/8 of an inch, and then I'll just do 1 more after that. I also just realized I never top stitched or bottom stitched stitched the bottom of my sleeve. That I should do. I'm going to do that really quickly right now too. I should have done this at the bottom. Okay. Top stitching got a little wonky there, but that's okay. So now what I'm going to do, you might be able, I don't know how well you could see, I have already put the marks on the side when I sew it down onto the actual panel, the lining panel, but I've got my mark here. I tried to figure out what center was, and I marked it. So I'm going to go right up next to that mark. Not even going to go over a full stitch over in this direction, and it's just enough so I can come back down. But I'm going to top stitch well at both when I come to the top, when I go across and down, and at the bottom. Great. So now we have most of that done. I have already prepped my back panel by putting the foam on it, and I did that stitching. Now, one thing that was fortunate for me, I had drawn on my seam allowance because I did a really bad job cutting out the lining panels. I did both at the same time, so I had the material folded right sides together. I put the pattern piece on top. I thought I cut it out well. I did not. It is shorter on one side, and I don't know how you can see it's a much shorter seam allowance here than here, and it'll be fine. I will have to come up a little bit, but I didn't want to have it be truly lopsided. So I drew on my seam allowance so that when I'm sewing the base on, I can see where I really need to get. But that was great because then I could align this foam. So what I did was I measured it a little bit wider than what I have here, but still not in the seam allowance. I don't want it in the seam allowance. And then I did it a little above where the seam allowance will be at the base and clearly out of the seam allowance on the top. And so that should be fine. I might trying to decide, no, I think this is good. What I've done is fine. And so just attached it, it's compressed a little bit, so we're ready to go. So now what I need to do is add this to this. Now, because I'm adding this sleeve, it's clearly going to be different than what you would do per the pattern. So if you're just doing the pocket, the pattern will tell you where you need to align it. And so you'll want to do that. Obviously, this should be the same width as your pattern piece, so it should fit pretty nicely, or pretty darn close. Your pattern piece is at an angle, so that's the other thing. It's not going to be, make sure I did it the right angle. Yes, it's not going to be the same width all the way because this comes out like this. As you can see, they're angled sides, but still, you'll be able to see. So I'm going to go get this aligned. I'm going to decide where I want it. Again, keeping in mind where the seam allowance will be. I'll probably line it up with the foam. Right about there, as long as it stays out of the seam allowance at the bottom, as long as it stays out of the seam allowance at the top where we'll have our zipper panel, then I think we'll be fine. So I'll be right back. We will then stitch down the sides, and we're going to stitch here to hold it in place. Okay, I think I figured out where I want it to look like this. Again, it's tight, but that's okay, because if anything, that's good for my laptop. I'm going to sew it from the back, though, for two reasons. One, we have the angles. But two, I also want to ensure I really have as much space as possible down here. I want it, this is going to be tight. It's going to be close. I'm in fact going to try to move it up a little bit. And yeah, hopefully we're all good here. I'm winging it here. But I want to know that I've got as much down here at the bottom, especially since I had cut it short in that one spot. So I need to ensure I really do have it not in the bottom seam allowance. Sorry, not talking well, trying to get it lined up. So I'm going to just base this down, tracing the edge. Now, if you were doing just the slip pocket, again, you could have Tetrised or Pac-Man'd the whole thing and you wouldn't be doing this right now, but I am, hold on, I want to make sure I can see where I drew my line for the seam allowance. I want to make sure it's above that. If I can, there we go. Okay. Oops. I'm just going to stitch that down. Did I keep? I think it looks okay. It got close. It moved a little bit, but that's okay. I was trying to have 3/4 of an inch on top, but we'll see. See how it goes. And so I actually, this is going to be hard. I wanted to sew from the bottom up, but I might not be able to do that. First, let's see, the other one, I want to get this aligned. Maybe that's what I need to do first. So that it's even. It needs to be right there. There. Let's see. See how this goes. So the top, if nothing else, should be even. That's important. The bottom, I don't expect it to be even, but I should have enough there. Let's trim off the sides. Because again, remember, the pocket pieces we cut were rectangles, but the pattern pieces not. So we want to trim those down. Clearly it's not even, but because I'm not cutting an even amount, whatever. I think my slip pocket is even if my sleeve was not. At least I hope so. Yeah, pretty even. Okay, so now I've got these marks here, which I can still see, and I want to stitch all the way down from the top down to the bottom, because that's going to sort of hold that down. And so I'm going to stitch well, back stitch well at the top and bottom. Let me bring my hump jumper up. I've got this foam, a lot of foam. So here we've got our pocket. So I've got my sleeve here. It's through here. That's the way it's supposed to be. And then I've got my divided slip pockets here. Those are nice. Those nice pockets. So let's work on the zipper panel. I am just crossing my fingers this works. We'll find out. I'm all about trying things on the fly. Okay. So I have a whole video about how to do these types of zipper panels. And so I'm not going to go through all of the steps, but it's basically, I mean, it's also in the pattern, but you cut the pieces per the pattern and per the size bag you're making. You fold them over, like you'll draw a line about 1 inch, you'll fold them over to that, so you're folding it over 1/2 inch. And then you put right sides together. So you've got the vinyl, which is right sides together with the zipper, and then the lining is right sides together with the vinyl, or wrong, it's against the wrong side of the zipper. And so if you want to use a zipper foot, feel free to do that. I have a narrow foot on, so I'm just going to get as close as I can to that, and then we will top stitch it. Feeling I'm going to have to change my bobbin soon. So now what we're going to do is first put that up. Not that I had to, but oops. Fold these over. I usually try to, if I can, sort of crease the lining, because that'll be a thinner material, so you should be able to crease it. So we'll pull it, crease it. Depending on your main material, you may or may not be able to do that. And so I like to, while I'm top stitching, I'll sort of pull the back and the front a little bit away from the zipper. So I don't want to clip the whole thing, but it's definitely helpful to have the ends clipped when you do this. I feel it helps to just get everything started the right way. I'm going to start from this end. It's just easier. I'm going to start down here and work my way up. Sometimes you can see this, I just try to, if I can, I can snip this here. If I fold it, you can see it sticking up a little. I'll do what I can to bring that in. There are different ways. Shannon from Knotted Threads Co. has so many different ways to reduce the bulk here for your zipper pull, not your zipper pull, I'm sorry, your zipper panels. Okay, I'm going to snip into this a little bit. I'm just going to cut a little bit of this away so I can fold it down. And hopefully you won't see it as much. I'm going to cut it like that. And that way it can come in a little bit. There we go. Just sort of folding it in a little, hopefully. I can always tape it down if I need to. There we go. Didn't work much, but that's okay. Clip on the ground. Okay, so as I said, I like to clip it. Bring that down a little. So I usually start a little on the side just to get that sort of held together. So we'll just do a little right here, not a ton, because I want to be able to pull and keep the lining and the main materials somewhat taut. And it's getting thick here, so I'm going to raise my hump jumper. And I'll use my screwdriver to help just sort of hold things in place. Don't be afraid to use a hump jumper yourself. See, I might miss the back there a little. Maybe not. That's fine. See right there, I could see it moved a little bit, but I think it's okay. I could put a second row. I think I'm going to leave it. I think it'll be okay. Okay, so I'm going to zip that up. It's always easiest to do the next side with it zipped. At least I find it that way. It's really easier for me to do this at my cutting table. So I'm going to go do the same thing. Again, it's going to be right sides here together with the vinyls, right sides with the zipper. Then this goes in the back, then we'll sew it together. So I'll be right back. Okay, we are aligned. I've got the second side done, or lined up to sew, so let's do that. Bring that down. And so I'm just feeling here for the edge of the zipper so that I'm not at the zipper tape where I'm starting, but I'm feeling where it is so that once I go down, it'll be in the right spot. One thing I'm going to do, I'm going to separate these because it's going to be easier for me to do this regardless if it's separated. I'm okay putting them back together, but one thing I have a line at the bottom here. I think I've shown this before. You can see I've drawn a line. That way, when I align them, I can ensure that the teeth are aligned correctly, because if I've done it correctly, that line will still be straight across. It won't be off. And so I'm comfortable taking that off. It's just going to make it easier all around. It helps when you're putting this together to have your zipper pull still on, because that way you can zip it up and ensure it looks like it's even when you're putting on that second side. But once you've done that, you really can take it off for this. Okay, so as I did before, I'm going to clip the top and the bottom just to hold those in place, if it helps. I'm not going to try to reduce anything here. It's just, it is what it is. Okay. I'm going to start from the front side this time. Get my stitch length back up. Okay. And just a couple of stitches here to hold everything together. Now I do know, I can see already that my lining must have shifted a little, and so let me see, is that, I'm gonna have to go back just a smidgen. I can't go as close to the edge as I'd like. There we go, because it won't catch the lining like I did on that other one, so I just have to be careful. This should be okay. What I did do last time, and I think it worked well, I used my screwdriver to sort of push in that little tab there. So bring up my hump jumper. So what I'm going to do now for both of these is find the center. So just folding in half and snipping. And on this one, I will cut, actually, you know what I'm going to do first, just cut down some of this extra that kind of pulled a little more. Yeah, that's better. So find the center. Any need to trim here just a little bit. We are ready to sew this together. So let me get my panels. We've got, this is going to be the back panel. This will be our front panel. We've got our top pieces. They match the ones on the exterior. You could use the same material. I just chose to use the contrast. I put tape on it because we saw how slick everything was. So I just want to be prepared for that. I have my D-rings as well because you can wear this as a crossbody. Obviously as a laptop bag, I'm not going to do that very often, but I like having that option. And then we have our base, and we'll use that in a moment. So I'm going to do my front first, which is going to be the zipper panel. So again, for me, that's going to be different than what you would have. And so if we think about it, we want everything closing to the left. As I said, I want this piece here. Normally, your zippers are, oh no, your zippers are going in the right direction. There we go. I turned my zipper. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on one sec. Okay, are you ever like me where you're like, okay, I have to think about how this goes. This is the front, it's gonna be like this. That means this would be the front of the bag. If it's closing to the left, I need it like this. Yes, okay, figured it out, okay. Put your zipper panel on the direction you want it to be. Now it's gonna be right side up. Make sure you have it right side up. I'm gonna baste it first, so that's why I'm doing this. I'm just gonna baste this down. I'll baste, you know what, just so we can do a little bit of sort of, get a little faster. We're going to do this one as well. And right side up. I've marked my centers on everything to make it easier. This is going to be a tight one here, but that's okay. Part of the reason I'm okay with the now laptop sleeve so high up is because these zipper panels are going to be pointing up. And so there's going to be a little more space there than you'd think. So got that one clipped. So right now we're just going to baste. Let me bring that down a little. So you can baste it like 1/4 of an inch. Did not bring my stitch length. Dropping everything. Let's do this one now while we're at it. And I've got a lot going on here. If you do something like this and you see there's a lot there, feel free to tape. I was doing this going, I probably could have taped that down. Okay, so now we're going to get our top panel, which I have tape on. I've already marked the center on this as well. Oh, no, don't do your top panel yet. Ay, ay, ay. We need to do our D-rings. And so I have marked my D-ring where I need it to be. And we also, I'm going to clip this out of the way now. I'll do it on both. We don't need those for a little while. Get my ruler, because she tells us where to put this. Get that there. And so, there we go, right about, actually, you know what, I'm going to do, let me get a pen. 1 second. It'll be easier for me if I can see the mark. And so you're going to put it on the right side on both. Helps if I really can't see it. Hold on. There we go. It's going on the right side on both the front and back panel because when you turn it over or when they face each other, they'll be on opposite sides. So, can you see that? Yeah. Okay, I'll mark the other one after. So now what we want to do is take your D-ring. I've marked it. I put a little tape at the end too to help hold it in place. I'm going to put my D-ring inside that mark. So I put a mark on the left side of it, and I've got my line drawn. That's what I want at the edge of the lining panel. Mention as I did the other ones, I'm sort of starting in the middle of my zipper tab so it doesn't slide anywhere. There. Okay. I'll do the other one in a minute. Okay. Because I took the tape off of this already. Nope, off. Took the tape. Oh, I guess I didn't take the tape off. Good. Because it would have been sticking to everything. But I'll take it off now. Okay. So I'm going to align the centers. I am going to clip as well, even though I've got tape here. This is such a lovely smooth vinyl that I just really want to ensure it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm going to clip it too. Keep your zipper panel down. You should not be have as much stuff here unless you're doing a laptop sleeve like me. Okay, let's do this at the seam allowance in the pattern. Ah, haha, not today, bobbin. Look at that. That's what was left. Right back. I am really hopeful I don't have to make a new bobbin. That would be a bummer. Okay, just making sure everything is aligned here. Ah, that's why it's not sticking. The paper didn't come off of the tape right there. There we go. I think my main panel here might have shrunk a little bit with the quilting that I did, just a smidgen, but I'm not too concerned about it. Okay, seam allowance in the pattern. I do want to ensure my zipper tape stays out. I've got it clipped, but I want it to be out of the way. As you approach your D-ring, make sure the ring is out of the way, and backstitch over that well when you do. I'm just curious to see how is that going to be. Okay, it'll be tight. I think it'll work though still. I'm just thinking, oh, will I be able to get my laptop in? But I think so. I think that'll work. I'm excited. Let's sew the other one on before we do the top stitching. It'll just be easier. Okay. So as I said, I need my pin again. I need to mark where to put the, helps if I know what I'm doing, the D-ring connector. So I'm going to mark it here so I can see it. Or strap connector. Yep, it's the right spot. And then turn it over so I've got the side up that I can see with my line. Align it to that. So the line is right at the top of the, right at the top of the lining panel. If you're using webbing for this, I mean, yes, you definitely still want to sew it down well, but don't go over it too many times. I mean, this is vinyl, and I did put some Decavel in there, so I'm feeling more comfortable with that. But you don't want to risk, and I don't want to risk perforating this either, but I think it's okay with what I did. But with webbing, just be careful with that. Okay, and line the middle. This is going to be an easier one to do because there isn't so much stuff. Still going to clip it. Let's actually first clip this too. This is the nice part about if you have your zipper panel separated, it's just so easy to get that out of the way. Okay, then seam allowance the pattern. Right now. Now I can see things stretched a little bit. I'm not too concerned. I'll trim that down after. It's fine. Okay, so now we are going to top stitch. Let me put my stitch length up to a top stitch length. That's probably a good spot. And then I can bring that down a little. We're going to fold this up. So that means our zipper panel is going up. Our D-ring naturally will want to go up. Ah, that's why it wasn't sticking. The tape moved. That's why it slipped a little. Okay. And so we're going to top stitch on the lining. So it's going to be right above our overlay right here. and I'm pulling them apart to try to keep it taut. Ooh, okay, this is close. I can do it. I can do it. Same thing here, but we'll see how this goes. So now I can sort of pull a little further. I can pull. There we go. I can pull that out of the way. It's only when it gets really close there again. Not too bad. Now one thing I'm going to do, I'm going to trim the sides. As I said, I'm going to trim a little here so that it just needs to be trimmed up a little bit. I am going to rivet right here. I'm going to put a little bit of Decaville on the back just to make it stronger. And I'm going to put a rivet right there. I just feel it will make it stronger overall if I do decide to use these. I mean, they're pretty well sewn in there, but I just like that idea. So I'll be right back. I'm going to rivet those. Okay. So here we go. These are riveted right there. Oops, you can't see it. There we go. It's riveted there. I just put some Decaville Heavy behind it. So yeah, I think that's good. I like that. So now it's time to put this together. I'm going to still leave the zippers clipped. And so like we did on the exterior, I'm going to align the seams right here. I will staple it too. Wait a minute. Why does that? Oh, I'm trying to figure out why does it look weird. It's because I have that extra seam from the zipper panel, the laptop sleeve. So if you do what I'm doing, don't align your laptop sleeve with the other one. Make sure you're aligning the correct panels. I am going to staple that because otherwise I will 100% screw that up. There we go. But I need to clip everything too. In fact, you know what? I'm gonna staple here at the top. There we go. I think that's just going to help. And I can clip down the sides then, because that's a little easier. Do the same on this side. I need to ensure that I'm not aligning my laptop sleeve with the top. I need it to be the actual side seams. Now I do want to clip right there. Okay. It's a little off. Let me. That's better. Okay. So when we sew this, we're going to start at the top with the seam allowance in the pattern. Then we're going to increase it. And then as we get to the bottom, we are going to bring it back down to the seam allowance in the pattern. So, and good stitch length. Let me bring that up a smidgen. Nah, that's good where it was. Okay. So as I said, I've got that D-ring there, so you just want to be cognizant of that as well. I mean, it should be out of the seam allowance, but just be careful. So I'm going to leave it at the seam allowance in the pattern over this top panel, and then I'm going to bring it in as I get close to that. Right about there. I've now increased it. About now, I'm going to start bringing it back. There we go. I don't think you need to put a second row of stitches on this. Maybe at the top. I'm not going to. I think it'll be fine. It's not going to have the same stress. It's not an open stress. It's, for instance, let me do this. Just see if I could show it as an example. When you're opening it this way, so if this were the exterior, you're going to see sort of that pull potentially from the seam, at the seam, and that's why you might see some stitches. You're not going to see that on the inside. It's not stressed in the same way. Okay, so one thing to note too, because I started at the top over here, I'm going to start at the top here. I'm not going to start at the top on one side and the bottom on the other. I want to ensure if there's any stretching, it's going in the same direction. So again, starting with the seam allowance in the pattern, and right about here, I'm going to start increasing it. So now I'm at the wider one. Right about here, I'm going to bring it back in. I'm going to take out those staples. If I can find my staple remover. We'll use this. That's what screwdrivers are for sometimes. Everything's dropped on the floor. So I'm going to cut my seam down a little bit. There we go. I'm not going to cut it down at the very top, and I'm not going to cut it down at the very bottom, but I'll cut it down in the middle to just help reduce some of the bulk, especially since I've got that laptop sleeve in there now. That's the most important part, to sort of reduce some of that bulk. I'm going to taper it off right around where, like that. Right around where I had tapered it in. Tapered, I guess that wouldn't be where I made it wider, not tapered. Okay, there we go. Just curious. So good. Okay, so I have my centers still, and they're in a good, I can see their centers are still in the center. That's good. And I've got my base, which I also have marked. So I'm going to start aligning these. You know what? I'm going to try. I didn't do this, and I don't know how important this will be with fabric. In the pattern, Jenny tells you, at least for the exterior part, where it definitely will be necessary, to snip all the way around the base. I was just sort of on autopilot. I'm used to when you have bases like this that you snip into whatever the circle is, so in case your bag, maybe it's your gusset, whatever it might be, where it's something like that. But she did it here. I'm going to do it on this. Why not? Because it's right here. It's going to be kind of tight because of that laptop sleeve, so this will probably help. So you're just doing all the way around the curves, sort of instead of your main your bag in this case. So you'll have this spread out to meet it rather than the other one spreading out to meet this. I'm not going to put tape on this because it's not going to slide around really. So it should be okay. I'll decide once I'm in there if I need to staple it. I might still do that. Okay. So now and we're doing right sides together. And because I have this sleeve in here, I have to make sure that I'm not like putting this in between the sleeve and the wall or the side panel. So we want right sides together with the base and the sides. I'm going to clip a couple here. To the other side. Make sure my centers are aligned. There we go. the sides. And this is why I like to leave a little extra here so I can butterfly this open. Just find it easier, usually. I'm going to go and fit the rest in. I will probably staple this just to ensure everything stays in place, especially since I really need to try to keep my seam even. There's a place here where I know, as I said, it's short, and so I don't want the lining to be lopsided. Excuse me, or at least too lopsided. So I need to staple it and ensure I'm sewing in the right spot. Yeah, that worked really nicely, putting those snips in there like that. So if you are not stapling it, you could just go right around and start sewing this. I'm going to take this off because, one, it's just what I do when I have something like this, but I also want to be able to see the side seam, or I'm sorry, not the side seam, the seam line that I drew on here, so I have to be able to do it this way. So I'm going to go staple this and then take this off, and we'll be back and I'll sew the base on. We're all stapled, so let us get started. We stapled adequately well. Just going to start in a place where I know it's easy enough. I can see it. It's not short. And bring this down. There we go. Now, okay. When you're sewing this, now I created my pocket so that it's certainly short enough. I just decided that's where it would go. But if yours is pretty, longer, and if it seems to be, if the material is going like this, you could clip it out of the way. You could either just hold it like this, or you could clip it out of the way. Just ensure that you don't sew this into your bottom seam. I'm going to look from the inside. Looks okay. That's where I'm most concerned, is how it looks on the inside, not the outside. As long as I caught it all, but I know it was short in some areas, so I couldn't do the full seam allowance. Like right here, I don't know if you could see, I barely got, there's enough there, it'll be fine, but, and I might just do an extra row of stitches there because it's kind of shallow. I'm not going to be able to cut anything there. Let me take out some of these staples. Most of these staples I'm just going to leave because I'll trim this down. There's one I hope I don't step on. But for these here and these places where it's just too short, I'll take these out. That is a staple. It's like, is that a staple? I want to find out later. I'm going to do just a smidgen more, as I said, right here. I just really want to ensure that the lining is sewn well, and then we'll trim it down. Fine. So I'm going to trim it a little bit, except in those places. So one, that will help get rid of the staples, reduce some of the bulk. I have a couple staples I can see that I stapled a bit closer than I probably would have liked, so I'll remove those. One other spot here where I just want to, I can see this was the other spot that should have had a little bit extra. Just quickly do that. Okay, I'm feeling good. This is mine, so I can deal with anything. But it is now time to put this together. So what we're going to do, just making sure everything feels, what is that? is, oh, that's the, it's the laptop sleeve. I'm like, what is this hole? Sorry. Okay. So now what we need to do is put this together. And so I've got it marked all the way around because I'm going to do the drop in. I'm going to fold down to that line and put it together with the other and we'll be good to go. So I'll be right back and we'll stitch it up. Okay, time to top stitch. I didn't explain how I prepped these pieces for the drop-in and for the top stitching. So for the exterior, I put some double-sided tape all along the top edge on the inside, clearly, and I just folded it over the stabilizer. The stabilizer provided a nice natural fold line, so I just did that all the way around. I did put snips along the curves, which you would do as well when you were ready to top stitch. I just did it before I folded it over, and then put clips around to help hold it in place. Same thing basically on the lining. You saw the line that I had before. That is where I folded the edge of it to, so it's actually a little further down, but I put double-sided tape all along that line, folded down the top edge to that line, did the snips as I needed on the exterior as well. And then I did put double-sided tape on the interior, the lining, all the way around, put the two together so that you could sort of see it like this, clip them, and then it's ready to go. I like to put that extra double-sided tape to hold the pieces together. I don't rely just on clips because I find it slips if I do that. So that was the process to get where we are here. I think I've got it the way I want it. I've got the lining, well, except for right here, it looks like. The lining is just sitting a little below the exterior. Hopefully. It looks like it. I'm trying to look around again. It looks like it is. So I'm going to do a little wider. I mean, I'm going to use the edge of my presser foot, not the edge of the sort of center part for the, so it'll be a little wider than 1/8 of an inch. I like to start in the side seams. I just feel those are good places because you're not going to see it as much. There we go. If I can get it on. There we go. It's wanting to move. I don't like it when it wants to move. Let me take that down. My lining is shifting up a little bit. So I'm just trying to get it back down. I usually start and go around the back first. Just, I don't know, this is what I do. Okay, so. You know what? Let's check our bottom. Wouldn't that be a major bummer? Oops, sorry. If I ran out. I think there should be enough. Okay. It's gonna be just enough, but I think that's okay. Uh-oh. What's going on? Oh. Well, we already have a problem. It got stuck. Decided that the thread getting caught meant I was supposed to put in a new bobbin, so I did. Made a new bobbin. Give it a try again. There we go. If you do it, actually, regardless of whether you are doing a drop-in or whenever you're doing your top stitching, make sure you push your zipper panels out of the way since they're pointing up. There we go. Getting to a thicker part on that side seam, so I'm going to crank up my pump jumper. Coming up again on that side seam, crank it up. Oh my gosh. Here she is, almost done. Oh my goodness. Feels great inside. It fits so nicely. I don't know how well you'll be able to see in there. You can see a little bit. It's a great fit. It's a really great fit. Let's try putting in the laptop. See if that fits in there. Please let it fit in there. Watch, it's not going to fit. Oh, just fits. So I measured just the right amount. Oh, wow. Look at that. Look at that. It just fits. I mean, it may stretch a little, I guess, but... And I can zip it over the... Oh, yeah, and that's what I wanted to see. You can see here, I can zip it over the top. Hopefully you can see. I mean, chances are I'm going to leave it open, but Wow. Fits perfectly like a glove. I mean, ideally, I probably should have sewn those side stitches, you know, when we sewed down with, if you were doing without the laptop sleeve, would be the divided slip pocket. When I did it here, I said I made it a little narrower than what it says in the pattern. I probably could have come in another 1/4 inch on each side, maybe even 1/2 inch, just to give it a little more wiggle room, but I think it's fine. Fact is, if I were to get a new laptop, or maybe I should say when I'm assigned a new laptop, it'll likely be smaller than that, so I'm sure it'll be fine. It's not going to be bigger by any means. So what we need to do now is put rivets in the straps. Again, per the pattern, you do put them in all the way through all of this. You certainly could, if you didn't want to see them in your lining part right here, you could have riveted them through just this part. There is Decaville light back here, but I probably, if you were to do that, would put some Decaville heavy as well, just to be, you know, safe. But I think it looks nice having it on the inside as well. And so I need to decide for this little D-ring for a charm, would I want it on this side, or I think I want it on that side. And so what I'm going to do, again, the pattern will tell you where to do it, punch it, but I want this to be as sort of snug down there as possible, and so I'm going to base where I'm going to put my rivet on this. I mean, if you had a thinner D-ring, you could certainly probably put it a little closer. So I'll be right back. I'm going to figure out where it needs to go here. That will be where I'm going to put it on all the others. I'll put the zipper end on and we'll take a look at it. Or the zipper pull, I guess. We need the zipper pull. Be right back. And she's finished. And you're probably looking at this thinking, doesn't look quite like what you did when you made it. There's something a little different about it right here. So the bag itself came together beautifully. Very happy with it. I've been using it for a week as a laptop bag. I'm gonna move this out of the way. You can see it has inside, there we go. Here's that sleeve that I created. My laptop fits perfectly in that. I think I did say in the video, I would, if I were doing this again, change where I sewed down those 2 lines on the side. I did talk to Jenny since then, since I did this, and to confirm she didn't mind me mentioning measurements, and she said that's not a problem. So in the pattern, do we go over 2.5 inches? Whatever it is, I think if we would only have gone over maybe 1.5 inches at the most on each side, and that's with my laptop. If you were to do this because you tried your laptop in and it fits, really give yourself some wiggle room there. Maybe don't even do it, or sew down the sides. That's even an option. The flap will gape a little bit more. I mean, you can see it still gapes a little bit, but not a ton. But it's something to keep in mind. If I had sewn those down 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch less on each side, which I did mention in the video, I think it would have been fine. So I would do that again next time. I would also probably make the sleeve a little bit shorter. Shorter height-wise. Sorry, let me do it that way. I feel it's coming a little close to the bottom. That was just how I cut it. I mean, there's no pattern piece for that. That was me just saying, oh, let's go with this. If anything, I might have made it just a little bit taller than the slip pocket itself. I'd still put the slip pocket on it. I like having that slip pocket there. I think it's a great extra feature to have, and you have slip pockets then. So I would make it just a little bit taller than that so you could sew the slip pocket on very comfortably. But I wouldn't have made it quite as tall as I did. I think I made it, I'm looking at it, it's probably a good 1.5 to 2 inches taller, probably more on the 1.5 than the slip pocket. 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch probably would have been enough just to have a little bit extra for the slip pocket to be on. So that's what I would do as well. I think the location of it, I mean, it's right below, I don't know how well you can see this. Hold on, so I'm going to do it this way. It's right below the zipper panels. There you go. So it'd be nice if it could be just a little bit lower. And so that's why I probably would make it just a little bit shorter. Again, it's not in the pattern. It was just me adding something on. Otherwise, that addition, I think, it's worked really well. I said my laptop, which is right here. Sorry, clunk, clunk, clunk. Here's my laptop. It's an HP EliteBook 840G9, if that means anything to any of you. It's from work, so this is what's assigned to me from work, and I can put it right in, as you can see. It comes right out quite easily, so if you have something that is that size or smaller, you're fine. So let's address the straps. Oh, I do still have to put the zipper end on. I've been walking around with it like this for a week. So let's address the straps. I riveted the straps in. It looked so beautiful. I was so happy. I was just excited. I went up, I was showing my husband, then I put it on, and it was a little tight for me under the arms. I didn't think about it when I was making the straps because the length is, if I recall, they're 26 inches. I think that's what the length is offhand. I don't have it right in front of me. And 26 inches for me is normally just fine for a comfortable tote. I think I do my Tuesday totes just 27, usually just a little bit longer. I often like to have a tote that is not right up under my armpit. I want to be able to wear a winter coat since I live in Minnesota and still put the whatever it is I'm carrying over comfortably. Ideally, I like when I have a tote like this to be able to reach down into it like this. And not only could I not do that, I couldn't really get it on very comfortably with a t-shirt. I didn't consider the fact that while the straps are long, you're losing about 2 inches of length right here because we're sewing it in here. We're not sewing it into the top. And that's the thing. You're sewing it in here. So my recommendation would be, well, first let me tell you what I did, and then we'll tell you what my recommendation would be. I knew I had to figure out a way to use this. Either I would just use it as a crossbody because I do have the crossbody D-rings in here, and I would just have this be a crook of the arm tote, or I'd have to make some kind of adjustment so I could wear it over my shoulder. I knew I wanted to be able to wear it over my shoulder. So I made the adjustments. If I were doing this again for myself to use as a laptop, one, I have an idea now what I would need, but what I would do is when I'm sewing together the pieces here, I would take the pattern piece where you attach the strap, and I would then also take some measuring tape. And I would sort of clip it on where you would need to clip it per the pattern. Clip it at the top as well so that it holds in place. And see how that feels on your shoulder. Clearly it's not exact, but it's going to give you an idea. And that will also let you know how much more you might want so that you can make it a comfortable length. I think for a lot of people, the length will be just fine. But if you have bigger arms like I do, if you have to wear a bulky coat at some point and you have bigger arms, you're going to want to lengthen it. So just something to keep in mind, because the straps are beautiful normally. And not that these are bad, but I think the straps are beautiful the way they are per the pattern. So what did I do to fix it? Well, I had the full straps on there. In fact, here's the rest of it right there. I cut it off and I'll save it. I'll use it for something. I cut them off. I sort of figured out, okay, I know I'm going to need to put some kind of connector in there to make it longer. I also knew that I was going to need to be able to fold it over and rivet. I basically tried to figure out how much length I needed from this original part here to both wrap it around and comfortably rivet it on the back, keeping in mind it's riveted right here. So I just did some math for what I did and where I wanted these to be. I didn't want these to be very high. I could certainly put them higher. But that's all I did. I can't remember offhand what the measurement was, but I did that. Then I made new straps, and again, that's where I used the tape measure to figure out, okay, what length did I want that to be? And it's worked out. It's worked out nicely. It's not exactly the same, obviously, but it's fine. And now I know what I'd want to do for next time. So I think that works. Obviously I had no bow on mine. It's just me, but can still put my phone in there. Everything else is working perfectly. That's just the one piece of advice that I'd have for the straps if you have bigger arms. So yeah, I love making this bag. I have the templates now already for the regular size one right here. Here is the little one I did at 75%. I think I'm going to do a tutorial on this because there's some things I learned from doing this, some little changes that might need to be made to better accommodate the bow and things like that. So watch out for a tutorial on this, but how cute is this at 75%? So anyway, let me put this back. Thank you. Thank you for joining me today as I made this. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you make one. If you do, post it in groups all over the place so we can see it. And if you like, give it a thumbs up and see you next time. Thanks.